Yeah, just wanted to start off today with, Jesse Bates and, it was a big deal for you all this off season, and, I guess you're, hoping the dividends will pay off for the team, as he's talking about. He's integrating and it's, trying to get things going back there. What are the hopes and aspirations for what he can bring to, now to the football team now that you're all out on the field?
Yeah, it's really everything he can bring, outside of obviously the football player, and he's been a good football player in this league, but also we know the person he is and what he's going to also bring to the locker room. Not just Jesse, but you talk about Calais Campbell and David Onyemata, Caden Ellis, and all these guys that we added, Jeff Okuda. We had a lot of players on defense, and it's not just because of who they are on the football field, but it's what they're going to add into the building, because we know the brand of football that we play here and we know how we're going to win games here. So you have to fit that ethos and fit that culture, and we know Jesse fits that.
In terms of, running back is such a big conversation across the league right now. I mean, yes, running back maybe differently than some other teams. How do you view the whole running back conversation in terms of pay, in terms of kind of where that stands?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about positionless football, and we really can't speak for other people's buildings and what they're doing because you just don't have all the information. You don't know exactly why they're making the decisions they're making in other buildings, but here we look at it as, hey, we don't look at what position they play, we look at who they are, not who. And that's where, whether you're a guard or a safety, or there are some positions that some people might say you shouldn't pay a lot of money to, but we look at who are they as individuals and what are they really bringing to our team. Do we have a clear vision of how they're going to really affect this team? And we're not going to put someone in a bucket of a particular position. It depends on who they are and if they're going to help us win championships, and we don't mind paying them.
I was going to say, Arthur Blank kind of joked yesterday that all the positionless stuff might cause y'all some issues down the road. I mean, in all seriousness, do you look at not even just like a guy like Bijan in 4 or 5 years potentially, but a guy like Kyle in a year from now? Like, is that?
Yeah, Kyle's a tight end and Bijan's a running back.
Right? How's that square with the positionless concept then that you just talked about 2 seconds ago?
Well, look, it is obviously there's a business side to all of it, and there are all those challenges. But we, not only on offense but also on defense, like you talk about a guy like Jesse Bates, he can cover, he can pressure, he can play the run, you can move him down in the box, you can play him deep, and you look at, we want versatile players. You look at a Caden Ellis, he's played the mic, he's played inside, he's played outside on the edge, he's rushed. So we want versatile players at every position because, again, that's the type of football team we have.
Arthur spoke about this being the third year of the 3-year plan, and you all being disciplined in your approach. As a general manager, how are you sitting here in the third year of the 3-year plan?
Yeah, it's really exciting, and look, we obviously appreciate Arthur and his mindset. He wants to win in the worst way, and yet he's obviously a really smart businessman that understands patience and plans, and so he's been so supportive, and we want for nothing, but we feel really good about where we are, and it was a transition the last couple of years, and it's really challenging because you're working hard to win games, and yet you have to clean up the cap, and there's some tough decisions that you have to make. But we believe we needed to lay the right foundation and establish that winning culture, and we believe we have a really competitive football team, and excited to be in year 3. This feels weird. I've never stood up and had that. I feel like I'm a pastor in the church. You know what I mean? I feel like I need a Bible, and I need I'm used to sitting down. Yeah, I need to, like it's a congregation. It's my deacon right there. He picks up the offering.
He's been doing the collection.
Just a follow-up on that, get us back on track here. He also said that Desmond Ridder, he was hopeful that he's the quarterback of the franchise's future. And where are you at with that?
Yeah, Desmond. Yeah, and the reasons we got excited about Desmond, we talked about it when we drafted Desmond, and it's, again, we always talk about it's not just who you are, because every player that's in the league is talented, right? Prototype, they're talented, they have good physical tools. They wouldn't be here if they didn't, but usually if players fail, if they make it or they don't, it has a lot to do with the makeup and who they really are. Can they handle all the distractions? Can they handle those things? And so one thing we saw early on with Desmond is the professional he was and the maturity at an early stage in his career last year. And that's why we decided to play him the last 4 games. And he showed growth every game. He showed growth and improvement every game. We saw him in critical moments, 3rd down, 4th down, into game, into half. And he was able to produce in those moments. And also, Desmond, we saw him get knocked down. We saw him handle some adversity, and we saw him respond to it. So we believe in the makeup and the maturity. And then now we get into the offseason, and it's about improvement. As opposed to the immediate results, it's about the process of an improvement. And we're a process-oriented organization. So he's had a really good offseason, and he's working hard to improve in all areas. There's a lot of factors to it. He's building chemistry with all the players and all his teammates. And look, Desmond, no different than myself and any player on this roster, he knows that he has to come in every day and earn it. And he has that mindset to work and do it that way. So we're very excited about Desmond.
How would you measure that improvement as we get into the season with Desmond? What are the check marks for y'all that he is progressing at the way you need him to not feel like you have to think about that position?
Yeah, good question. And so you know what I do after practice every day? I sit down and watch film with Arthur Smith, and our scouts do the same thing. They sit in the meetings and they watch film with the coaches, and that's really important to do because if you just watch practice, and you guys have to do it and you try your best to do it, if it looks like a cornerback just got beat here, but if you don't know his responsibility, okay, the safety's supposed to be over the top, there's other elements. And so we spend a lot of time watching film together and understanding what's really going on. It's the ultimate team game, and you're one of 11, and so it really depends on what's going on in every other area. And so our mindset, again, with Desmond or any other player, or they focus on the process and focus on improving. We know how we're going to win games. So as we get into the season, it's the same thing. Everyone's evaluated on a weekly basis, but it's not just looking at stats, and it's really spending time with the head coach and with the coaches and understand what's really going on.
If I could ask one more follow on that area. You spoke of Arthur's patience, but he also spoke of this being third year of a 3-year plan and an expectation for an improved record.
Yep.
How does that factor into how patient you can be as you monitor Ritter's improvement?
Well, we want to continue to improve in every area. We want to be better today than we were yesterday, and tomorrow we want to continue to improve. And so that's what we're looking for, again, from myself, from everyone in the organization, continue to improve, and yet having that mindset to continue to improve. We're going to have adversity. We're going to have failure is a part of the process. It just is what it is. Everything's not going to be perfect. This isn't a perfect game, and so that's a part of it. So, but we have to believe in the mindset and the makeup, and that everyone here is doing everything they can to have sustained winning, and that's what we're going to do.
He actually is the highest tenured quarterback at his current team in the NFC South, believe it or not.
Wow.
4 starts. So do you see an opening in the division for Ritter and this team this season?
Well, we have a lot of confidence in our team. We don't look at it like, okay, this is where this division is and it's time to – we just have to focus on every challenge that's in front of us. Focus on finishing off this week the right way. We're in our 3rd day of full pad, so it's the dog days for the players, and let's continue to improve. Let's get ready to go to Miami and compete and continue to get better. Let's get ready for Carolina week 1, and we just take it one step at a time. You know, when you're looking at the steps right in front of you, you can keep going. If you look too far, you'll fall. You know, so we don't look at it like, hey, let's take over this division because of where it is. We're focusing on the moment and focusing on what's right in front of us.
But in year 3 of this plan, what would define a successful year 3? Is it finally having a winning record, winning the division, playoffs? I mean, what does that look like?
Continued improvement. We wouldn't put a specific number on it. We wouldn't put a floor or a ceiling on what we can be. And we believe in this team. We believe in our process. And so just like it always is, we want to continue to improve and get better.
Terry, in the 2 years that you and Arthur have been together, since day one, you guys have always been in the present. Now that you're to year 3 in this, is there something in those first 2 years? What's the most important thing from the previous 2 years that impacts this 3rd year and going forward that you guys have found out about this process?
Yeah, good question. And I think regardless of where we were call it 2 years ago or last year, we talk about this all the time as well. There's some players that were with our team in year 1, in year 2 that are no longer here, but they were a part of it. They were a part of building the foundation. And, we had to make that decision that, okay, we always said it, this isn't a tear down and rebuild. We want to do our best to win games. Again, making tough decisions, but we have to establish that winning culture. So we brought in players that might have only been here 1 year or 2 years, but they were here to establish that winning culture, because it's not like you can't just snap your fingers and it's here. I heard somebody explain it like this the other day. I think it was Mac that said it, that it's not like you train really hard one off season and then all of a sudden you get into the year and you have a big year. No, you've been training for a long time for that. And then now sometimes you don't see the dividends initially, like when you plant something in the ground and there's a lot of stuff going on in the dirt and you don't see it, and all of a sudden, man, it's a beautiful flower, but there's things going on. So in the last 2 years, the way our coaches coach, the way our practices are run, the weight room, the film room, everything, and that's why we draft a certain type of player. That's why we bring in a certain type of player, because this program isn't for everyone. Everyone doesn't want to work on a daily basis the way we do, so we have to focus on the makeup. So we still did that 2 years ago and a year ago, making sure we're building that foundation.
There were so many people excited about the offseason, and you were, in your quotes at the end of the season, you said, we got to be stewards of where we are, judicious, make smart decisions. I know no script is perfect, but did it go as well for you as it looks like it went on paper?
It really did, and it really did. It went well because you don't know. You're going to have you have a plan, you have a blueprint, but you always have to adapt and adjust and pivot. And so you just never know how things are going to happen. What we really noticed this offseason, which was really cool, is players really wanted to be here. And because it's not like there was one player that we went and just spent way more than everybody else. Players really wanted to be here, and they chose the Falcons. So it says a lot about the organization. It says a lot about this city and this region that people wanted to be here. It says a lot about our coaching staff and the way they operate and the way they do things. And so that was excited. So, yes, we're excited about the way things went, because you never know. You're going to do your best to make good decisions and sell your program, but it was overwhelming the way players want to be here. So yes, we're excited about how it went.
A little while ago, you were talking about the maturity of Desmond Ridder. Maturity is a word that has been described a lot when we talk about Bijan Robinson. What have you noticed ever since he's been in the building and also been on the field?
Yeah, and again, maturity is a really good word to use for him, because he's a true professional already. Just the way he handles himself, and we put a lot on these rookies' plates, a lot on all these players' plates, but the rookies, it's a transition, and there's a lot they have going on, a lot in their heads, and yet we put a lot on them. Bijan's doing a lot of different things for us, and it's taxing, but he's handled everything so well, and he is just even and consistent. He always has that $1 million smile on his face, and so we appreciate Bijan, and maturity is a good word to describe him.
You interact with the fans a lot every time you're out there, but Saturday was a different scene.
Yeah.
Can you describe what that was like?
Yeah, that was unreal, and we're man, I feel like we're in the middle of practice, and the hill's packed, and yet you can still see people pouring in. So that was awesome. That was outstanding. We appreciate our fans so much, and that's why we work so hard, and because they deserve to have a really good season and to really have a sustained winter. So that was awesome. That was really cool.
You've talked a lot about year 3 and all that. How close is this roster to what you and Arthur envisioned in that plan?
Yeah, look, the roster is, we like where the roster is, and yet we're always trying to improve. We rank right at the top of the league in transactions over the last 3 years, and that's not going to change. Whether we're talking about working out players, signing players off the street, practice squad transactions, we're trying to turn over every stone, and we're constantly trying to improve. I appreciate Kyle Smith and Ryan, who runs our pro department, and that whole staff, because every time you turn around, we're constantly working out players and trying to improve, and not just the bottom of the roster, but also we're always communicating with teams on possible trades. We're doing everything we can to improve. It's a 24/7, 365 process, and so it's never going to end. So we love where our roster is. We love the makeup of our roster. We love our locker room, and yet we're always trying to improve. That's the tough part about this time of year because we're at 90 right now, and we got to cut down to 53 plus 16. So that's a challenge, and there are going to be some good players that we have to let go, and those players here are competing with the other 31 rosters too because we're studying those rosters. So that's the hardest part of this time of year, Mike, that, hey, we do have to cut down. Some of these players that are out there right now aren't going to be here against Carolina because we're trying to find the best 48. But we're very happy with the roster, and yet we're continuing to try to improve it.
What are you looking for when you are kind of, I think it was Arthur who said it, gosh, this is probably after the draft, but he said this is going to be a hard 53 man to make. How do you kind of see that coming to life right now as you're kind of thinking about where this 53 man will be at the end of this month?
Well, what it's done is we love how camp has gone because it's so competitive. It is really competitive, and we got the right types of guys because no one's backing down. It's every day, whether in every phase, offense, defense, every position room, there's a lot of back and forth, and it's extremely competitive. So that's what we're excited about because it's going to be a hard 53 to make, and the players here also understand that it's not just about what you can do in your particular position room, but what can you do in the kicking game? What can you do on fourth down? How can you find a role for yourself to help this team? And so, but players understand that. They have the right mindset. So the good thing about that is the competitiveness is at an all-time high. It's been good.
Following up on that, what are you looking for in a player, not just from a culture fit, but from an ability to adapt to this positionless football fit?
What are we looking for with players? Yeah, so it's mentally and physically, right? Because in order to be a versatile player, then you have to be able to get everything down, and we have to be able to trust you to go in and do whatever you need to do. But it's not just about offense or defense. Again, we talk about the kicking game, and where can you help in the kicking game? Is it in the coverage unit? Is it in punt pro? Where's that area that you can really help this team? So it's about finding a role for yourself and finding a way to help the team, but it's not just physically, it's also mentally.
Arthur Blank really seemed to compliment how you and Arthur Smith work well together, yet you have your disagreements, you're not the same person either. So what have you kind of learned from working with Arthur Smith over the year, and how has that relationship developed?
Yeah, it's a really cool relationship, and I think it's because there's so much mutual respect. Like, Arthur Smith will do anything he can for any one of those players, any one of these staff members, and 24/7, all he's thinking about is how to build a sustained winning team. All he thinks about is winning. He'll do whatever he can to build this football team and improve this football team, and he knows I'm the same way. So there's the same destination we're trying to get to. Sometimes he might want to go this route, I might want to, and we discuss everything because we know ultimately we're going to the same destination. And I think what we take a lot of pride in is this football staff, and there's no groupthink, and everyone is empowered to be experts in their fields, and we obviously listen to them, and everyone's empowered to speak when they need to speak, and we take a lot of pride in the collaborative culture that we have. So I think it's a mutual respect, and we know what the ultimate goal is, and there's no agendas outside of winning, and not just with myself and Arthur Smith, but also the entire staff.
What do you think of the quarterback series and how it's kind of portrayed with Marcus Mariota and kind of how they switched it up?
So I've seen little blurbs of it. I haven't watched the whole thing. Was it a good show? I'm assuming they did a good job with it. It was good, worth watching.
Episode 2 was really good.
Episode 2, okay. Well, why is he saying that? You were on the episode 2?
Yeah.
Did they pay you for it? Did Netflix give you any money
If
for
they
it?
did, I want to know about it.
Now, Arch was on there a lot too, right? I've seen Arch a few times.
Arch
Wes
got
is-
a SAG card. You need to tell Dave.
See, Arch, he has a better agent than you. And apparently Led has a pretty good agent too.
Hey, Arch got a SAG card.
Time for one more. Yeah, the NFL has changed so much schematically and tactically on the field over the last, 5, 7, 10 years. How has that filtered its way to the way that you operate as a general manager in the front office, just in terms of maybe the players that you want to acquire or what you look for?
Say it again.
The way that the game has changed tactically, schematically on the field over the last decade or so, has that changed your process at all in terms of how you construct a roster to maybe be more multiple in certain areas or be more versatile in certain areas?
Well, I think, yeah, it's another good question. And I think with the way all the way down to park ball, I'm at Caden's practice a couple nights ago, and they're doing a lot of spread stuff, and then all of a sudden that's what they're doing in high school, and that's what they're doing in college. And so now you can get an offensive lineman that hadn't been in a three-point stance yet, and he hadn't done the platform lifts depending on what school he's gone to. So you can get players in year 3 or 4 of their NFL career, even not just rookies, that haven't done some things that we're going to do on a regular basis, because the way we're going to win games is with our front offense and defensive line, and we're going to obviously run the football, and we're going to stop the run in all those areas. And so there's some new things. So you have to make sure your development, whether we're talking about the weight room, rehab, prehab, but the way we're training coaches, I believe our coaching staff, I put them against any coaching staff in the league in terms of teaching. And when you look at all the teaching that's going on in the development periods, but that's critical. You better have a really good development program, and so you can teach the players and develop in ways. And we're getting players that are so young sometimes. Guys are, we got some guys that have been here 3 years and they're 23. You know, we have players that come here, they can't drink yet, and they're already in the National Football League. So I would say, with the landscape of everything how it is, you have to make sure that you have really good teachers, which we do. Make sure you have a really good development program, and I think that's critical.